Hi, I'm Richard Wheeler, and this is Richard Wheeler Works. It's a show where I work. And this is another bonus episode outside of our regular... Is there a light on here? Maybe. It's totally in my eyes. Gotta get better lighting crew on this show. Usually I'm looking at... military and intelligence and government propaganda and PR and other publicly released information about surveillance, intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance, close target reconnaissance, stuff like that. But this is another installment in the segment called FBO Forever, where we look at the world of government contracting. And I'm realizing that we can actually get some synergy between what doing in the other part of the show by looking at, as we did in the last bonus episode, things like podcasts, things like YouTube videos. Like, how does the government contract for that? Where does it get done? Who does it? And why? So more watching the watchers type stuff. So let's just jump right back in. So we did a little bit in the last episode about looking at where the U.S. federal government, from whom the U.S. federal government buys podcasts. Now, I'm not meaning like a subscription to a podcast where you need to pay for the podcast. I'm talking about, like, does the government have a Spotify subscription to listen to that great podcast from last year, Winds of Change, which was about the idea that the Scorpion song Winds of Change was actually a piece of CIA propaganda. I can't remember the words for the things. No, what I'm talking about is the government buying podcast production services, like hiring people to make podcasts for the government. So we did a little dive into some of the databases last time, and I can't think about it and not laugh. We found that, for example, the Fish and Wildlife Service in Alaska is producing a podcast called The Fish of the Week, which actually sounds like an interesting and good and serious podcast, but just the idea of a Fish of the Week podcast makes me giggle. The FBI's Hate Crimes Division was looking to make... Well, they didn't really know, and I'm just going to double down as a bad solicitation. We can get into that a little bit more if we need to. And then the Indiana National Guard was doing a podcast, which was also, like, they knew what they wanted, but they just wanted a lot more than the Fish and Wildlife Service. So those were three examples we saw. Looked at some of the databases. So what I'd like to do for the next, it's going to be a few episodes, really, a few hours. So that was an hour, and some of that was us watching a little bit of War Dogs and just talking about how some of these systems work in general. But I think we should it's going to take a few hours to go through and all those databases, build tables, build charts, like really understand, okay, what can we say about government acquisition, U.S. federal government acquisition of podcast production services, and maybe some ancillary things like equipment purchases, because we saw some of that, with an eye towards saying, like, okay, well, what is there, and then why would you do this? Like, why am I doing this? Partly because it's I'm interested in it because my company has bid on or responded to requests for information, RFIs, about podcast production services along with a partner of ours. But also, this is sort of a nice little, you remember the size, the number of things. It was like less than 100 in beta.sam or now sam.gov. So it's small enough that this is, I think, a pretty good example of how you would step into a space and try to understand what this thing is and how does the government buy it, so that if you were in a company and you were trying to do this yourself, this is an approach. There are many approaches, and this approach is entirely just looking at these systems, there's a whole nother world. It's not another world, but there's another aspect of this world, which is using paid subscription services or customized tools that are hitting all these databases. So this is a very manual approach, because some of these systems can cost you, thousands of dollars a month per seat, meaning per license, right? So it can get pretty pricey, I think. It depends. I mean, that may be nothing to you. If so, mazel tov. But let's just take a look at how it works manually. That tends to be my approach. Like, and this doesn't apply to everything, but right there's an approach. It says, let's look at first principles. Let's look at a no-tech or low-tech solution. Let's look at a stock or out-of-the-box solution. Just how does this work? Without a lot of bells and whistles. So I guess I should open up a web browser, huh? I should probably get this window to look at the... Oh, sam.gov is open? Oh, no, it's not. I see. Aha! All right. Okay. So let's go to sam.gov. It should have like a plugin that has hold music whenever. I'm just waiting. Do 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 do. Come on, man, what's going on? Accept. Why is it not letting me sign in? Do, 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 do. There we go. Yeah, Hey, oh. All right. Chuckman Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. I have a lot of stuff running. I don't know why. It feels like this is their end, not my end. It's throwing a lot of errors. What's going on here? Okay. Maybe we'll come back to sam.gov. Start somewhere else. Let's see. I was gonna see if there, like, if it was. It's not that it's not the website isn't up. It wasn't like that. Facebook outage the other day where nobody could get to it. It's just that there's an error on the site. Okay, podcast. And what are we looking for? We're looking for. Well, we're not going to distinguish by award type, or we're just going to look for podcast here. We got 83 contracts. One contract IDV. Springer Nature. 158 grants. Huh. Okay. So these are what's IDV stand for again? Something vehicle. Indefinite delivery contract, I see. Indefinite delivery vehicle. Okay. Right. This is like a IDIQ or anyway, we'll get back to that. All right, so let's just download this. Level, get down to the... So, okay, we can download two ways. High-level summaries of each award or individual details. Yeah, that's useful. I mean, to get everything. Okay. So it's downloading. In the meantime, let's... You should really have Drive as a bookmark. It's kind of ridiculous, right? Okay, I'm going to save that file. To my desktop. You can't see that. It's interesting that, you know, well, give me a second screen. Okay, so this is, yes, this is that. So let's do a new Google Sheet. And what should we call this? USG podcast acquisitions. USG podcast acquisitions research. Untitled spreadsheet. USG. Okay, there we go. So I'm just gonna go back to me staring at a screen for a second. So in another, I can open up the zip file. What's going on here? Okay. So there. Oops. Sorry. Hold on. Okay. Sorry. Doing the thing I did last time where I'm trying to get under capture 2. Okay. And I want to get a Finder window. Windows server. Here we go. All right. I just want to show you, like, what is this? Why does that get cut off? Oh, because my screens. There we go. Screen's dimensions are different than dimensions of this. Right. And so this is what we just downloaded from USA Spending. So it's got contracts and assistance. So those are grants. And it's got the next level down is prime transactions and subawards. Right? So prime is when you have the entity that has the primary relationship with the government, and sub are relationships that are subsidiary or subordinate to that. Prime contractors and subcontractors. All right, so let's go back to here, and we're going to import some of these CSVs. Upload, select a file from your device. we do all these at once? No, we have to do them one at a time. Okay. I'm going to insert new sheet. Okay. So, could we be doing this in a database? Yeah, we could be doing it in a database probably, but I don't think we really know. I know a little bit about what's here, but it's not like I have a database that's set up to ingest this stuff because I don't know. For me, going through this is productive, right? Because it's just reminding me of. I don't do this every day, right? Thank God. And so I need to remind myself. Okay, what is this again? What does this do? Sheet, data. I don't know about cleanup suggestions thing. Messy. Okay, so we've got transaction. We're gonna do. All right. Well, let's. Yeah, we're gonna. Sorry, housekeeping. We're going to leave these assistance grants, okay, because that's not the government. My, on the surface assessment is that's not the government making a podcast. That's the government helping other organizations make podcasts. So these are grants. So some of that may support government. Here, let's take a look. There's one specific case I can think of where this might be the case. Let's go back here, and we're going to go to grants. And we're going to sort on this. Okay. Miscellaneous foreign award. That's interesting. Kitchen Sisters Productions. Oh, yeah, I've listened to some of their podcasts. They're pretty good. They're like historical. They did some nice things about, what was that again? I don't even remember. Community Development Corporation. Okay, there's a CDC Foundation. I was on Atlantic Council, Australian National Institute. Huh, interesting. What was that Kitchen Sisters podcast again? Kitchen Sisters. The Keepers. Yeah, that was one, but there was a friend of mine did some reporting. That was that show. Well, their website's down. All right, let's get back to work. Okay, so that's not what we're looking at. We're not looking at grants. We're looking at contracts. Okay, grants. Okay, so we got these, and they are a mess, right? So let's. I'm just going to leave this font size, even though it really doesn't work for me. So some of these are, all right, that's doable. Contract award unique key. Okay, award ID, PID. Mod number, parent award, Nash. Here, I'll do this for you. We'll make sort of a little data key, right? So let's do this in a way we can actually read it. Edit, paste special. transposed. Okay. So a lot of numbers, right? IDs. But okay, federal action obligated, total dollars obligated, base exercise options, right? So this is money stuff. Action date, period of performance dates, lots of dates, awarding agency code, sub-agency code, office code, funding agency code, right? Like who bought it with whose money. Treasury accounts funding this, yeah, right? Like that's the Treasury accounting symbol. Recipient DUNS, that's the Dun & Bradstreet number. That's how you figure out who they are. Cage code, that's a Defense Logistics Agency code. It's another like entity lookup, where it happened. A lot of stuff in here, right? So, how are we gonna make sense of all this? What do we really want to know? Well, there are a few things I want. So we could let's build some pivot tables here. So contracts pivot 01. Insert data. Pivot table. This sheet. Data range. Okay. JX. Oh my gosh. That's a lot. Okay. Just here. Just do a new sheet then if they're going to be like that. Suggested average federal action obligation. Wow. Huh. I've never seen that. Never seen that Google Sheets does that. Can you even see that? Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm blocking it a little, but there's this, suggested. But that's not. Add. Xcode. And okay, product. Oh boy. It doesn't allow you to just. This is interesting. This A76. It's a weird thing. It's like it allows government agencies to get paid by other government agencies. I think. Sorry, I'm always like, wait, what's that? That's interesting, and then I always forget what it is. Okay, NAICS description, product service code. There we go. What I really should do though is, do I need the totals? let's do this. Let's add NAICS description bit here, right? Here we go. It's pretty. And then we're going to add PSC description. Okay, why am I starting with this? Because I'm interested in figuring out where the different how does the government, how different agencies, how different organizations conceive of this work? Where do they think it goes? So I'm going to there we go. There's a lot of equipment stuff in here, right? So I'm thinking a lot of these actions are for buying stuff, which is not what we're interested in. We're interested in this motion picture and video production, teleproduction and other post-production services, sound recording studios / audiovisual. So this is where, like, look, so this NAICS is a 512240 for sound recording services, and the PSC is T016 for audiovisual services. Here, the same PSC code is listed under motion picture and video production. So this is just to point out that you can't just say, oh, I'm just going to look for the NAICS code and then I'll find it. Because, look, radio networks, television broadcasting, other sound recording. And we could do the same for subs, but so we're going to move this pivot table, delete this. Contracts. Okay. So, okay. But this isn't still, what we really want here is just a list of what are the good contracts, right? Where was the, this is all like stuff. Commerce, National Institute of Technology. Oh boy. Here we go. Text retrieval. I'm going to duplicate this. I'm just going to chop down to the few fields that are useful. This award ID PID is delete this. going to delete. I'm going to hide. Hide that column. Just for right now, I'm just going to hide everything but hide that. Hide that recipient. I don't know, what is that UEI? Is that the same replacement? Okay, I don't care about the funding. Okay, hide that. Awarding. Okay. Hide. Okay. Hide. Okie dokie. Okay. So, whoa. Okay. That. So here we go. Let's resize this column. Whoa, no. Okay. And let's do all this as okay. So here we go. Text retrieval conference podcast task. That's all right. What am I doing? What am I trying to do here? What I'm trying to do here is figure out which are the ones that are actually podcasts. Okay, so I'm going to insert one column right here. I'm going to put one here. What I think are podcasts. So I'm just making this column here to mark what I think is a yep. Level 2 to edit fire outreach programs, video podcast production, video podcast training, video production. Radio podcast produced on podcasts. Provide a full range of Did this not? Here we go. Huh. This is different. Provide a full range of captioning and transcription services to make sure we comply with CMS and national sanctions on 508 accessibility. Well, that's so. This isn't a. So 508 is accessibility for disability, and it's a disabled users, and it's a huge space. I know vaguely what it is, but I'm not an expert in what you need to do to get to 508 compliance. But that's something that my company works with frequently. My team works with. So I'm interested in this. I don't know if this isn't really directly podcast related, but what I'm going to do here. No, I don't want to do that. So right. I'll just have another one that's like, this is interesting. I guess support. Okay, this is getting access to something. Scan network fee per podcast. That's interesting. Okay. Six video edit. Training podcast development, podcast production. Equipment required for special podcast project is actually do this. Podcast and upload. Okay, 508. Provide services for news writing, graphics, and podcasts for the environmental health perspective. Okay. Video production equipment. Ooh. No. Okay, equipment. Podcast equipment. Okay. That's equipment. Production. Production. Yep. Production, equipment, production, equipment, accessibility, production. That's okay. Advertisements, not interested. I'm not interested. Production. Spam call from San Bernardino. Production. I don't know what that is. I'm going to flag that for other. Production, equipment, production. A lot of task orders here. Oral histories, podcast, social media services, okay, podcast editing. So it's interesting. So we can see a range of editing and voiceover. Like we could start to break down individual components, whether for ourselves or in order to build up a proposal for like a new customer. Say like this is what it's cost elsewhere. Sort of to whether that was in an RFI response or in a RFP response, RFQ response, RFI request for information, RFP request for proposal, RFQ request for qualifications. So, but this is, a lot of times. So think about if you have a new customer, but they want a podcast, but they've never bought a podcast before, or they want a podcast and they've never bought from you before. For some reason, there's a new element here. This kind of work that we're doing here allows you to point at what other government entities have paid for similar services or equipment things in the past. Nobody wants to be first, especially in a government bureaucracy. Nobody wants to get their, neck too far out and have their boss come in, or heaven forbid, have, a congressional committee, pointing at something and saying, it says here that the Fish and Wildlife Service spent all this money on a podcast called the Fish of the Week podcast. Mr. Secretary, Madam Secretary, can you please tell me what this is about, right? So nobody wants to be in that position, right? So you have to, and this is true of any purchasing function, corporate purchasing too. Like it could be the CFO or somebody's like, why did we spend this on paper clips, right? This is ridiculous. Nobody uses paper anymore. It's all in the cloud. Why do we need paper clips, right? But then you say, well, yeah, but other companies like. So there's a justification part of this that is a backdrop or a backstop to why I'm going through this, because I'm figuring out, how. Well, this is how much editing costs. This is how much. Voiceover costs. This is how much these things. Or this is how much other people have paid for them. You may then say, in fact, we believe it will cost more, and this is why. But at least you're setting a price or cost floor, right? And then if they say, well, no, we think it should be that, why? Right? Department of Agriculture paid that for this, right? National Institutes of Health paid that for this. Why do you think we should charge you less, Now, you may not get to a point where you even have that conversation, but it's there. Mental Modeling Task 8 podcasts. Podcast production, podcast production, podcast production, podcasts, production, affairs, news writing, graphics. Wait, what's this? Go back over to the original. This is that. I'm very, this is the purchase order, but what is this? Well, I'm interested because here we go. Here we go. Solicitation number. I need to subscribe to GovTribe. I might need to do that. But we can do this. Oh, it locked me out. Rats. Oh, because I want to know. See, this is the problem. They don't link the solicit. This is why you need these third-party aggregators, because they're the government doesn't link the spending to the the spending action to the acquisition action, right? Because you want to know, okay, this is what they asked for, this is how much it costs, right? So I'm just going to spend some money here, which I have for some reason not done. I mean, GovTribe is great. I know people who subscribe to it, so it seems okay. Great, maybe too strong endorsement, because I don't know. But okay, news writing, graphics, one podcast upload. Now that's interesting, right? I want to know what that is, because that's what's podcast series production for. Aha, see this one. I feel like maybe what is this? The Fish of the Week podcast. Let's see when this was. Let's go back here. Yeah. This is the Fish of the Week podcast, guys. I'm pretty sure. 48,625. Start date 10/2020 award. Yep, this is it. And they're the ones who did the other one last. So yeah, okay. They've got the inside track for the Fish and Wildlife Service, or they know how to win anyway. Huh. Let's see here. I'm just gonna go back because I have some of the Fish of the Week stuff. Fish. So I'm on my desktop now, so you're not seeing it. Fish. Okay, here we go. Solicitation 140 Foxtrot 0421 Quebec 0113. No, that's not what this is. Oh. Right, that's... Right, this is the award ID. It's not the... Right. So... Okay, let's finish this, and then... So where we're going for this, so this is sort of the today work, is going through this list and just getting USA spending in. The next hour will be going through FPDS and just validating, do all the things here match here. And also, see, in FPDS, you can, I have not done this for a while to validate that all the fields that I'm used to seeing in FPDS are fields that I can see in USA spending. I think they are, because I think what we're, I don't know, though, because I think that what we're seeing here is this is the award description. I don't know. Just going to double check. Studios, no. Ramadan outreach activity. Podcasts. Okay, that's cool. Podcast services, podcast production. Task order to travel to the podcast movement attendance con. Interesting. Podcast software. No. Software. VPod podcasting kit. Podcast production. How much of this is there, by the way? Okay, we're almost there. Production. Captioning. Production. equipment, production. Equals count A. Okay, 139. Format, text rotation, 90 degrees. Equals sum. Okay, so we got 139 total, and this is 134. So 5 were things or like advertising or something else. 114 of the 139 are podcasts. Podcast production. Oh gosh. Didn't see all that. Anyway, you can't see the sums anyway. Okay, so next steps are going to be to go into FPDS, CSV download, see the same things. Okay, do these things match? Is there anything different? So these are awards. Right? We're going to see all the awards we can find. Dedupe, find uniques, get a unique list. Then we're going to make a combined USA Spending FPDS list. And then we're going to break it out based by who has bought it, identify unique podcasts, identify unique customers, and also what have they done, right? Like, is this just for editing? Is this just for this? Is it just for that? So we can try to, chunk out what is what, and then look at how much money has been spent. So that's going to be next steps. And then we'll circle. So that will be looking at what has been spent that we can see. And I mean, this is clearly not all that the government has spent on podcasts. This is something where podcast is in the description, right? Or podcast is in something. So it's a bigger, a podcast could be a part of a lot of other types of, you could imagine a public relations contract, a media management contract, a social media management contract, where it's just a lesser included part of a larger thing that they haven't called out as an individual action. So this is a tip of the iceberg that we're establishing. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll go back into SAM.gov when it's working for us, and we'll go back to that list we had and get all the list of current actions. And we're also going to set up some Google alerts and some searches to find, right, like new stuff. I'm going to get a subscription to GovTribe so we can go into there and try to associate some of these awards with acquisition actions, and then we'll see the full pipeline. Okay, what did they ask for? What are they paying for it, right? But that's work for another time. We've done enough work for today. This has been Richard Wheeler, and Richard Wheeler Works.